What's going on, team? It is 9:15 a.m. Starting right on time here on Thursday, June 16th for another episode of the Ask Me Anything. The most upvoted questions and topics have been collated. What am I trying to say there? Anyway, organized, and we'll discuss the top three, have a little chit chat at the end, and then we'll get out of here and enjoy our rest day. Let me just say, unrelated to the Ask Me Anything, I hope everybody is doing well, all things considered. It is a terrifying and crazy time in the world with inflation and interest rates and talk of recession and all kinds of stuff going on. And I think there's some challenging times already here, but looming on the very near horizon. And so when that kind of stuff happens, having a support group and community and things like that is critically important. It's nice in the wonderful times, but a community of people that you can bounce ideas off of and just lean on when times get tough. Yeah, and I think the world, if it's not already there, is there very soon. So sorry for the divergence from fitness, but just want everybody to know, thinking about you, hope you're well, hang in there. Hopefully the sun comes out soon, economically speaking. Anyway, here we go. So, the most upvoted questions from the community. I've got them written out here. The first most upvoted one, pardon me, is from Brandy E. Says, could you possibly provide insight into the neurological component of training? For example, I have heard it said multiple times that, quote unquote, deadlifts tax the CNS, tax the central nervous system. But what exactly does that mean? And not sure if this is related to days when I feel ready to attack the workout, other days when I don't, etc., etc. By the way, love the not for time option, and I have definitely matured as an athlete because of the Linchpin group. So that's cool. So great question, and I have to admit, it's one of those things that back in the day, traveling on the road, level 1 staff, answering questions for live audiences, some of that stuff was asked more regularly and had it on the tip of my tongue, but I had to brush some dust off of that today, and I wanted to give the best answer that I possibly could. So I did some digging, did some research, and here's what we've got. So first of all, just talking about that, for example, deadlifts tax the central nervous system, or working out in general, exercise taxes the central nervous system. Let's talk about in very, very oversimplified terms, okay? Because this is far above my pay grade if I was talking to somebody who spent 8 years in medical school diving into this as a specialty. All of us know just enough to be dangerous. So this is very 30,000 feet. What is the central nervous system, right? If deadlifts tax the central nervous system, most of us know what deadlifts are. Most of us probably say central nervous system a lot without kind of diving into what it is. So, sorry to read you something, but here we go. The central nervous system has three main components: the brain, the spinal cord, and neurons or nerve cells. And each part of the central nervous system plays an important role in how the body functions. And the three components of the central nervous system work together to take in information and control how the body responds. So, in simple terms, talking about the central nervous system, brain, spinal cord, neurons. Stay with me for a moment. Let's chat about what each one of those does, just a quick little summary. And even in those quick little summaries, without even mentioning the word exercise, I think if you then imagine what doing like a heavy set of 5 deadlifts feels like, you'll be able to understand why they say deadlifts tax the central nervous system. So the oversimplification of the brain controls many of the body's functions, including sensation, thought, learning, movement, awareness, and memory. There's certainly sensation going on during the deadlift. There's thought about how you actually ideally want your body to move. There's learning involved in the deadlift. There's absolutely movement, awareness, and memories in there as well. So I can see how all of that would be completely tied in there. The spinal cord. Spinal cord connects to the brain via the brain stem and runs down through the spinal canal located inside the vertebra. The spinal cord carries information from the brain to the rest of the body and transmits signals from the body to the brain. That certainly sounds like it's going to be taxed, right? Basically telling your body what to do. And then neurons, the final part. Neurons are the building blocks of the central nervous system. Billions of these nerve cells can be found throughout the body, and they communicate with one another to produce physical responses and action. Neurons are the cells that make up the central nervous system. They are responsible for communicating information throughout the body. So, okay, that wasn't too bad, right? That was actually, for sciencey, I tried to take the most salient and concise points that I found. And thinking about what the central nervous system is, what the brain's responsible for, the spinal cord, and the neurons, absolutely deadlifts tax the central nervous system. All of that's involved unquestionably, and just exercise in general. I also picked out just a couple other sentences that I think would be beneficial for the question. Exercise challenges the cardiovascular, pulmonary, and musculoskeletal systems, and it can have profound metabolic effects. Now here's the interesting part, and this I think is more pervasive than people want to admit with a lot of exercise science. And I'm happy that they at least said it here in plain English. In contrast to our extensive knowledge about the peripheral adaptations to exercise, information about the specific effects of exercise on the central nervous system is relatively limited. So point being, a lot of the information about what's happening is probably the scientists' best guesses. Well-educated guesses, well-intentioned guesses, but best guesses, like they said in their own words. The actual information about why certain things happen and the effects is relatively limited. Some things that are generally accepted regarding exercise and the central nervous system is if you overdo it, that can cause severe fatigue. And that also is part of the why we do what we do in general, but certainly at Linchpin, and certainly when I, put all the time, thought, and effort into programming, right? That's why we don't lift heavy every day. You could see how if you lifted heavy every single solitary day, you would, based upon even that quick little synopsis that was just given, tax repeatedly without giving it a break that central nervous system, most likely leading to that severe fatigue that they cause, and then you don't want to train. Everything goes in the wrong direction. And that's not just heavy weight too frequently, which I think is such a poor way to do business long term. I think that is a dead-end road. Also, we're very big on speaking about modulating your intensity. I don't want you to, even with, the heck with heavy weight every day, moderate loading or light loading, if you're just stomping the accelerator every single day, I think unquestionably that is also why many people have just run into a wall, suffered with fatigue, motivation is down, don't feel like training, not getting PRs anymore. All of that is related, in my humble opinion, for sure. You can trust me. I barely graduated college with a degree in sociology. But anyway, this is why we do what we do. And even if I had never read these quote-unquote scientific studies, which in their own words are limited in their actual true understanding of the effect, after doing this stuff for 16 or 17 years every single solitary day and being utterly immersed in it, it's just profoundly obvious through experiential living as to you absolutely can overdo it. You absolutely can tax that central nervous system. You absolutely can just suffer from fatigue and get worn down. More is not better. You should not go heavy every day. You have to modulate your intensity. All of those things you will learn one way or the other. You'll learn maybe about reading from them. You'll learn either maybe the hard way from doing it yourself, or ideally, my goal is to, again, help other people get on a more intelligent path sooner than I did. Learn from the things that I did wrong so you can start doing it better sooner, and then you're going to have this long, wonderful career, working out, feeling good. I think I got distracted. Okay, so here's the last final little clip that I pulled up that I thought was valuable given the question. For the general population, Exercise can have extremely positive effects on psychological well-being. Regular physical activity can change a person's perception of his or her physical self and identity in a positive way, and it can also be used as a means to reduce stress and anxiety. Experimental studies support a positive effect on mood for moderate intensity exercises, and numerous cross-sectional and longitudinal studies have demonstrated the beneficial effects of regular exercise on severe depressive disorders, including major depressive disorders and minor depression. So, I think that's another thing that, hey, it's wonderful to see something like that in a scientific journal. I don't want to say whoop-de-doo, because that would be a mean thing to say for the scientific journal, but I just think it's another one of those things where even if there hadn't been a study starting to explore that, anyone who's been in the game, working out, doing functional movements, pushing yourself with intensity, learning about CrossFit for 1, 3, 5 years, and as your group of people that you interact with and hear stories from expands, everything stated right there is profoundly obvious. You certainly can overdo it. There certainly is a sweet spot. You certainly can't go 100% every single day. Can't just beat yourself down with heavy weight every single day. Finding that sweet spot, we have seen and heard plenty of stories of people, again, giving you a positive self-image, changing your attitude, improving your mood. People who have suffered from potential anxiety or depressive disorders feeling better. Now, of course, none of this is medical advice, but I would be lying to you if I didn't say that I have seen all of that with my own eyes. 100%. And that's also part of the beauty of what we do, right? Beautiful programming, gorgeous, elegant programming. What's so, in my opinion anyway, what's so beautiful about it is that it under-promises and it over-delivers, right? One simple workout a day, you don't think that's going to deliver such astonishing fitness capacity across such a wide range of weightlifting, monostructural, and gymnastics, but it somehow does. It's amazing. And then all we say is, if you do this stuff, you'll get fit. That's all we're going to say, because we know that it works. But then there's all these other astonishing, amazing things that do occur, and we know that they'll occur, but we don't mention them, such as mood, confidence, how you carry yourself, how you feel every day. All of those things come along for the ride. If you found that sweet spot with your programming, with modulating your intensity, with taking rest days, how you're sleeping, how you're eating, there's a great world full of sunshine out there, and that's the goal, is to get people as close to that as we possibly can. So, excellent question. Hope that helped, Randy. Okay, next most upvoted question from Jeff G. Here we go. This one hits close to home. I don't know if this is specifically for him because he is on vacation right now, but this one resonated with me a lot because I've spoken about this before. He says, vacation. I'm the crazy one that wants to exercise 5 times a week on vacation. My family usually doesn't love that. I'm right there with you, brother. Assuming there are active days like hiking, and I'll take those ones off from CrossFit, talk about your strategies on working out versus resting on vacations, and if that maybe has evolved for you over the years. Great question. You know, what's funny is be on the lookout for the Very Not Random podcast that I do each week with Adrian Bosman. That posts every Tuesday around 10 a.m. PST. We've recorded a show, but I don't think it's posted yet. Maybe it's the next one, or maybe it'll get posted in a couple weeks, but I'll let the cat out of the bag here. That kind of a question is somewhat addressed, and I mentioned some of the things that I've done in that, but I'm happy to talk about them here. I'm that same person as well. Drives my family crazy. They're like, hey, you're on vacation. It's okay to take a week off. You're walking around all day long. You're going on a hike, whatever it happens to be. You like, give yourself a break. It'll probably be good for your body and good for your mind. They say all these very true, very nice, very kind things to me. However, each person's a little bit different, right? For better or for worse. We're all at different shade of crazy. And for me personally, if I don't move my body, and not move my body meaning walking around, go for a hike, or even mountain biking, all of which can be plenty taxing. I'm not taking anything away from that. But in my crazy head, if I don't move my body in something that looks like a workout, it doesn't have to be a crazy workout, it doesn't have to be Murph or the 7, but something resembling a workout, it bothers me. It eats at my soul. And I know that's probably something that I have to deal with, but it sounds like Jeff has an issue with this as well. And for me, if I can just sneak away over the course of the long day, give me 15 minutes. That's all I need, 15 minutes. And I can get something in. I just feel like a little pressure release valve was just hit, and it alleviated that pressure, and it relieved that pressure, and then I can get that monkey off my back and just go forward. And when I'm on vacation personally, I do work out probably 5 times a week, but I will change, modify whatever I need to do to make the time that I have with the family the absolute priority. And if we're going to go do something, I won't allow myself to delay or impede or impose upon whatever are the fun activities planned for the day. I won't let my crazy neuroses about working out get in the way of that. But from the time I get up to the time I go to bed, there probably is that 15 minutes somewhere where maybe we're doing whatever, and now we're going to go back to the hotel room. The kids are going to, hang out for an hour and watch a little TV, and then we're going to go do something else. Well, in that hour, that's when I will strike. That's when I'll go hey, I'm going to take that 15 minutes, slip out the door, do something, come right back. No harm, no foul. It's all good. I have also, and this probably just makes me sound like such a weirdo. I think I mentioned this in the Very Not Random show as well. The last one of our vacations, like a year or so ago, the family went to Disney in California. I can never remember if that's World or Land, but we went to Disney in California, and it was just, we were going to be going all day long. And we'd spoken about my craziness before we went to, hey, are you going to be okay, letting this go, not working out for 5 days? And it's like, of course. I've matured so much, I've developed so much, absolutely. And no, that wasn't the case. I had to get in some workouts. And so what I did, I think I did the exact same thing for the let's just say that we were there 5 days. We'd get up in the morning, maybe 30, 40 minutes before our kids get up, just to get ourselves ready, get a little coffee, all that kind of good stuff before the day get going on. My wife would go into the shower to get herself ready. So I am alone in the hotel room with no adult supervision. And what I would do with nothing is I would just immediately drop to the floor like a raging lunatic and do 50 burpees. That's it. And I did that each morning for the 5 days that we were there. Feel free to tag your favorite psychiatrist to help me out, or leave your judgment in the comments below, but that's the truth as to what occurred. And whether you're stomping the gas or going at a moderate pace, let's say at a casual pace, you're doing 12 burpees a minute. So in 4 minutes, that's 48 burpees. So in roughly 4 minutes or less, if you're stomping the pace and doing 15 a minute, you can do it even quicker. But in roughly 4 minutes, I did my 50 burpees. That was it. Done. 0. And that no one ever knew. I don't even know if my wife knows that I did that. She doesn't watch these anyway, because she has to live with me every day, so why would she want to hear me during these podcasts as well? So my little secret might be safe forever. But that worked out great. Never impacted anything negative in the family, and at the end of the week, I would have either done zilch, or I did 250 burpees over the course of the week, in 5 50 burpee little bombs, which was great. So that's my deal. So I totally understand. I'm right there with you, Jeff. I feel the need to get it in, and like I said, I generally do get it in. I just make sure that it doesn't negatively impact what the family has going on, because that's not going to be good for anybody. So that's my 2 cents on that, but I'm right there with you. Okay, final question was from Carrie K, and this is American versus Russian kettlebell swings. Okay, where is her specific question? Here we go. I would love for you to discuss American versus Russian kettlebell swings. She had a former coach that prescribed Russian swings only, but you program more American swings, pros and cons, etc., etc. So, great question. We do program more American swings. Absolutely true, for sure. But we also program Russian swings. We program Russian swings. I looked it up about 1 month ago. On May 18th, there was a workout that had some Russian swings in there. And we don't program a kettlebell swing every week. You just don't need to do that. But when they do come up, and if you look back, yes, you will see more American swings, but you'll see Russian swings in there as well. And I usually let people know why. For example, I do Russian swings exclusively. So for anyone's unfamiliar, the Russian swing, generally speaking, the bottom position is the same for the American and the Russian. The Russian swing stops about eyeball level, line of sight level, and the American swing goes directly overhead, stops overhead. In simple terms, there's the difference right there. Every single time that American swings are programmed, almost without exception, I do Russian swings. And I'm always very open and honest about this. I do that also because it relates to my overhead position. And as I said, the American swing stops overhead. And that's saying that if you looked at somebody from the side and they had the top position of an American swing, that bell would be right in the frontal plane, right where you'd want to see a barbell that was locked out overhead on a push press, a barbell for an overhead squat, something of that nature. That's where you'd want to see that bell as well. As I've mentioned plenty of times, I've got terrible shoulders from motorcycles and military accidents, and my overhead position is not good. So to get something directly overhead, I have to surrender my midline in an unacceptable way, loosen my abdominals, and overarch my spine, which is not what I want to do with any sort of loading overhead. So I do a lot of modifications when overhead work comes up. And when the swing gets programmed, if it's an American swing, easy day. I do Russian swings all the time. They're fantastic. And in my opinion, strength and conditioning and the fitness landscape, it's such an interesting thing. People are very passionate about whatever camp they're in, if they're in a camp. And sometimes these camps go to war with other camps and don't like other camps. And if you change the sanctity or purity of any of the movements in my camp, you are no longer my friend. And the kettlebell community is its own hardcore community. Much like the CrossFit community, Olympic lifting community, powerlifting community, running community, you name it, right? The goal here is to knock down those barriers, everybody. We're all on the home team for the big win, just trying to get fit. I don't think there should be any sort of an adversarial feeling or relationship between American swings and kettlebell swings. Both done well, there's the key word, both done properly with sound mechanics and technique, I would have a hard time seeing a beautiful mover doing American swings and pointing out why that wouldn't be just a great thing to do. I'd have a hard time looking at somebody with beautiful mechanics doing a Russian swing and seeing why that wouldn't be a beautiful thing to do. Conversely, I could see a novice do either movement, somebody who doesn't move well or doesn't know how to properly move, do each movement, and I could find something to blame or pick apart if I so chose. I don't think that benefits anybody. Both are fantastic movements. Both have more in common than they are dissimilar. I think that's a very important thing as well. But getting back to Carrie's question, the overwhelming, overly simplified reason why you're going to see a lot more American kettlebell swings than Russian kettlebell swings in CrossFit, I would pinpoint down to just an increased range of motion. So instead of the bell stopping around the eyeball level, it has to travel all the way to up overhead. That, I would say, in its simplest terms, is why you're going to see more of them. Period, kind of end of story. All the proper kettlebell mechanics for both movements should apply. Hinging at the hip drive and posterior drive to get that bell, whether it's to the eyeball level or overhead. It should not be pulled with the arms. If going all the way overhead, results in somebody not being able to drive it overhead with the posterior chain and the hips, and they're kind of yanking and pulling it up there with the arms, I would say they're not ready for that range of motion. They're using too heavy of a bell. They're too fatigued. They should have rested a little bit longer. Any sort of number of things, could be applied there as well. And when that object, now being the kettlebell, is overhead, it requires some grip strength and some situational awareness. The old central nervous system that we just spoke about in question number 1 is certainly going to come into play here, because that bell has to stop right overhead and you have to control it. And if you don't, because you're not ready for it yet, you're too tired, whatever it happens to be, and that bell, instead of stopping beautifully at 12 o'clock right over the athlete, flops backwards, there's going to be nothing great about that kettlebell swing at all, and it could cause your body to get into some very wonky position with your hips and low back and shoulder, and nothing good's going to come of that. So again, no matter what we're talking about, it's supposed to be done properly. Let's see here. And like I said, like so many other movements, done well, it's a thing of beauty. Done improperly, it could easily get attacked by any critic that wanted to, but that kind of applies to anything. Deadlift, clean, handstand walk, muscle up, kind of you name it. Again, I don't think there should be a war between American and Russian kettlebell swings. Both are great, both have utility, both will drive the needle forward. And here is, I know this isn't scientific, I'm so sorry, but this is kind of relating back to question number 1 with the central nervous system, which, like I said, even if a study or some beautiful scientific document from somebody in a white lab coat had never crossed my path about the benefits of lifting on the central nervous system, on mood and things like that, just being immersed in strength and conditioning for so long, I could have told you with a high degree of confidence that those positive effects were there. You just see it every single solitary day, and you don't see the inverse happen. You rarely see somebody who says, man, really cleaned up my diet, just got rid of the processed food, it's gone. Getting a solid 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night, cut out soda, other kind of crap, really just taking care of my body head to toe, found a fantastic workout routine that I'm immersed in, I've got great community around me, and I tell you what, my mood's just in the toilet. It just is, I don't know, I've never actually heard that once in my entire life. I would kind of liken that as well to the Russian versus American swing kind of a deal. Take now that example in all the reps, all the people, all the whatever that day in and day out is a full-time occupation. This has crossed my path. I've never seen anyone who's swinging the kettlebell well with proper mechanics and techniques, be it Russian or American, have an issue. I've seen people who move poorly have an issue, but that's not just the kettlebell swing. I've seen people who move poorly back squatting have an issue. Box jumping have an issue. Power cleaning have an issue. Again, it's not the movement, it's the individual and where are they in their fitness journey and their development of sound mechanics and technique and all that kind of good stuff. Let's see. So yeah, I think that's that. The last workout that we programmed with Russian swings, I copy and pasted it here. That was from May 18th, 2022. That was 4 rounds for time, 30 calories on the bike, which is 21 for women, 30 calories on the bike, 25 hollow rocks, 20 Russian kettlebell swings, and then 10 push press. So 4 rounds of that. Bike calories, hollow rocks, Russian swings, and 10 push press per round, 4 times through. That was with a 53-pound bell for the men, 35 for the women, and the push press was at 60% of your 1 rep max. Now on that workout, I specifically chose the Russian kettlebell swing as compared to the American kettlebell swing for 2 different reasons. Number 1, I wanted to put it in there before the push press to just get you breathing and to suck a little bit of drive out of the hips and the posterior chain. All right, I did that I would do it because I care. But I wanted you going into that set of 10 push press at 60%, which 60% might not have sounded too challenging, but now when I kind of pre-fatigue exactly what's going to be driving that barbell overhead with the kettlebell swing, I used it to do that. Now that set of 10 push press is a little bit of a different animal for sure, and you're breathing on top of that. and I hit your midline a little bit with those hollow rocks before that. And since you're going to be going overhead with the push press on this specific workout, I didn't want the kettlebell also going overhead. I didn't want, now I could have put that in there if I wanted to, but if so, that would have been just a different intentional decision to have even potentially a bit more interference between the kettlebell swing and the push press. But I wanted not that much interference. I did want interference, but not quite that much. So for that specific workout, I chose the Russian swing, and then we had the push press come right after it. So like everything else, there's no workout that I put out there that's just randomly chosen and thrown out or just hoping for the best that it works out. Every movement, every time domain, how the movement before interplays with the movement afterwards, all of that stuff is there by design, intentionally, with a purpose. And for that one, the Russian swing worked really well. So hopefully that helps. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap it with, now we normally do 3 Linchpin shoutouts at the end, but I just chose one today. It's a very cool one. It's a couple paragraphs, and it just hit me right in the feels. Loved it, so I figured I'd share you with it. And I just received this just the other day. So this is from Michael T. He sent this to me, and he says, so I just have to tell you a short story about what I'm seeing with Linchpin. I've been following Linchpin for probably 3+ years now. My son is now 2.5 years old, and working out is a luxury some days. I'm an ER nurse working 14 hours a day. Yikes. That includes commute time, so my goal is just to work out on the days that I'm off. Consistent is not a word one would use to describe my fitnessing in the last 2 years by any stretch of the imagination. However, this year, on those days that I do make it into the garage and just do the warm-up and the workout, I'm hitting PRs left and right. Now, I've been doing CrossFit since 2016, so I feel like I can't be getting these quote-unquote, newbie gains, new person gains. I went to a gym in the old days that did the old heavy strength piece followed by a Metcon for quite a while. And now that I've been doing only the Linchpin warm-up and the Linchpin workout, it's been raining PRs despite my inconsistency. So, maybe not as short of a story as I planned, but I just really wanted to say thank you for reminding me and bringing me back to classic, effective CrossFit. Awesome. Super cool. That's why we do what we do. That's why we put so much thought and time into the workouts. And Michael's, shout out there relates even back to that first question about the central nervous system, right? Like, I'm not shocked that old gym that he worked out at that had to go heavy every day followed by a Metcon, I'm not shocked that wasn't the most effective thing. I'm sure you were overtrained, tired, fatigued, and under those conditions, it's not going to be raining PRs. And the whole, less is more. It's tough for people to get their heads around, but it really is the golden key to longevity in this game. One workout a day with the appropriate amount of intensity, respecting the heavy days, take your rest days, find a great community. It's going to treat you well. So that's it. And as I always say, if you've got a video, if you're part of the Linchpin community, you've got to shoot a video of where you work out, your home, your apartment, your garage, your basement, your fire department, military base, wherever it is, the shed in your backyard. Film that video. Send it to me at info, that's I-N-F-O, info@crossfitlinchpin.com, and then I will add it to the playlist that we have on the CrossFit Linchpin YouTube channel that's entitled Garage Gym Tours. And if you haven't checked that out, you certainly should. There's cool videos from people all around the world, and you can get some really great ideas as to how to use your space most effectively. So that wraps up the AMA for June 16th. I'm going to go see what in the world my baby has gotten into while I've been doing this, and enjoy your rest day, everybody.